Hi guys, I'm John Carrick, author of Legacy of a Mad Scientist and The Legend of Ashley Fox. Today we're here looking at 100 Bullets 36, the conclusion of The Counterfeit Detective, starring Milo Garrett, by Brian Azzarello and Eduardo Risso. But first we've got World Fantasy Tarot Judgment. So we're into the major arcana now. The last one was the World. I think that was 21. This is 2X's, 20. It's also got a 200 down at the bottom. Cerberus, the three-headed dog of hell. Judgment. So cool. All right, so this is not a happy ending for our friend Milo. Things do not go his way. He got dumped out of the window by Lono, who I had mistakenly thought was masquerading as this guy Carl, but Carl Reynolds actually got killed at the beginning of this story. So Lono's not masquerading as him. And Milo actually survived the fall. He just broke an arm and woke up in the hospital. Now he is leaving the hospital. Bruises on the inside and outside. Again, the patter is amazing. It's really good. Echo is there waiting for him, and she tells him that he cradled her fall and she was fine, and she went right back upstairs to her room. He tells her that was a mistake and she has to get out of town. Things are unraveling fast, so he takes her to the airport. And the dialogue, the patter is all very cool. It rhymes. It's all hard-boiled, for lack of a better term. And again, the art, how Eduardo Risso puts certain characters in silhouette while the others aren't. It's just superbly done. So Milo takes Echo to the airport. And that looks like the Getty Center off the 405 south. Heading toward the airport. That's clearly the LAX airport. You can't see the Getty Center from LAX, but you do go past it. This is just so good. And yeah, Milo puts Echo on a plane. He does not see her get on the plane. Just drops her off at departures. There's a guy dressed like Shepard. An ad for a PlayStation game. Milo goes back to his office, and he is beaten up. And it's almost like he's gotten used to wearing the bandages too. He takes a call from Megan, asks her for an encore of their little tete-a-tete the night before. She explains that while she was with him, her place was being robbed and all her security was being murdered. The painting is gone. She accuses Milo of having something to do with it, that he set it up, that he scammed her, which is really a step too far. You know, she gave him a ride home after his accident. She didn't have to go looking for him. Remember, he wrecked his car going down Outpost. Megan also claims to know who Milo is, and that's Milo's problem, is he doesn't know who he is. He has no idea. He's gotten so used to his new life as a private detective, he doesn't remember anything of his old life as a Minuteman. Here he goes into the bathroom, takes the bandages off. He clearly does not need to be wearing them anymore. Goes out for a drink, asks this girl who, Nadine, she and him were kind of an item apparently. She wants to hook up with him. He's only there for one reason. He's asking her and the bartender who they think he is, how they see him. She says he's a cat who knows what it takes to make the girls purr. The bartender says that he's a punk, that he picks fights with people, he's a jerk. Milo interprets that as a big drinker and a lousy tipper. And then he takes Nadine's car. She lets him because she thinks that she's going to get to see him later. Milo goes to Megan's, knocks out her driver, and confronts her. She gives him some back and forth. Megan knows a lot more about Milo than Milo does. But in this one, she pretends to be scared of him, and maybe she is. Milo is pretty unpredictable. So, again, just fantastic art. Look at the facial expressions. Oh, this one. I really like this shot. Check this out. This right here, all the wrinkles. The highlights, just such good work. to be able to put this out 22 pages a month. I haven't counted the pages in this book, but that's the average. That's what you're supposed to go for. 22 pages a month. It's a lot of work. Especially when you're considering you have to not just make up the characters, what they're wearing, the angles. It's a ton of work. Think about all the departments they have to do this in a TV show. Costume department, makeup. Now you're only drawing, but these are decisions you have to make. You have to decide who the characters are, how they look, what facial looks. All the acting is on you, the artist. This is intense. This is a ton of work. And Marvel is now, the entry level rate at Marvel is $160 a page, penciled and inked. You're supposed to do that in 8 hours. They don't respect their own medium. It's the only thing you can say about it. To be entry level at Marvel, you have to be great. You have to be an amazing artist. And $20 an hour to pencil and ink? That's absurd. As my brother said, that's what my niece is making at Starbucks. Megan and Milo go back and forth. She accuses him of being in on the robbery. And he again asks her to come over again. And she says it was her only way to stay alive. And she said, only if I have to. So she does not want to see him again. Milo has no choice but to go back to his office and go back through his paperwork, smashes the glass because he's feeling really upset about who he is. And this is interesting. Here is where we get the beginnings of his mental issues. He wraps his face again. He does not need to be a bandaged man. He does not need to be the invisible man. But that's the identity he has gotten accustomed to. That is fascinating. It's who I am, he says. I like who I am. I love being me. Now that I understand, that I can appreciate, because I've only gotten that myself in this past decade. So you don't always get to know who you are. Is that a skull? Look at that. So even the drain, Eduardo Risso is putting in the time. That is just phenomenal art. Where do you get this nowadays? And it's not over yet. Milo starts going through his all the documents, from the time he got hired by Echo. So Carl Reynolds was a real guy. He was not Lono. But Carl Reynolds and Monroe Tannenbaum were brought in to steal the painting for Echo. And then, this is fascinating. Lono was brought in to steal the painting from them, so she didn't have to pay them. And the painting then got stolen by Megan, and now the painting's been stolen from Megan. Also, Milo could read the word Croatoa. Kind of. Not really, but a little bit. And it is strange that Milo's perfectly fine without the bandages, but that's how he's most comfortable. This is great writing on so many levels. So many levels. There's not a lot of subtext, but the patter is really well done. Everyone speaks direct, but they do talk around their points. You have to kind of read into it. It's not subtext as much as it is clever dialogue. People do say what they mean, but so then he finds a piece of information in Carl Reynolds' journal, and he says, "Fuck me with a 10-foot pole." Someone standing at the door says, "I got one, but I don't swing that way." Lono has returned, puts a gun up to Milo's head. Milo does not bat an eye. He doesn't care. He's pretty much checked out. But with Lono, if Lono points a gun at you, you're not escaping it. He's not going to point a gun at you and then not shoot you. That's not who his character is. And I'm really surprised that it's out of character for him for us to get 2 pages of dialogue, before he pulls the trigger. It's out of character for him to let Milo run his mouth and talk smack to him a little bit. I would have expected him to walk in and just shoot him in the head. And I didn't know Johnny Double came out. That might be worth reading. Why not? I know Lono got a 7-issue miniseries. I think 7 or 9, but I think 7. Milo does give Lono a little bit of back and forth. Look at how small his hand is compared to Lono's wrist. It doesn't help. He even gets him on the chin. But Lono does not miss. Maybe he let him take the shot for old time's sake. Maybe he wanted to see how much Milo remembers about being a Minuteman. Remember, everyone's allegiances have kind of been shattered. Shepard and Graves aren't working together, and the Minutemen for the Trust are not a coherent unit or a coherent group anymore. They're not all on the same page. Lono occasionally works for Graves. He took that $2.5 million from him in one of those first issues, and then Graves sent those kids after him to rob him. And Lono got robbed and then had to go chase those kids down again. But he shoots Milo in the mouth. If Milo didn't need bandages before, he's going to need them now. And then he shoots Milo in the heart. There's nothing to say there. The dialogue is great. The narration is great. Milo talks about remembering how he woke up, telling the doctor that he feels numb. The doctors asked him how he felt. He said he felt numb. Doctors explained you can't feel numb. You can only be numb. And that was the beginning of this. I remember Milo saying, be numb, be numb, be numb. That was right about the time I had my first doctor's appointments for my eye. And I remember saying that to myself. So, be numb, be numb, be numb. There's nothing to say here. It's kind of a tragedy. And Echo's waiting for Lono down in the car. And here we see what was in Carl Reynolds' date book that explains the problem. Echo was his last entry. Echo is the one who set him up and then screwed him over. So from the beginning, this was all a scam. Obviously, she had something she wanted Milo to do, find the painting. Megan had gotten it, and now they were able to steal it back. Echo never got on the plane, clearly. Poor Milo. And the way the narration slowly gets smaller, you can presume that's a weakening heartbeat. And that's it for Milo. Too bad, kid. "100 bullets, 36. Okay, we also have Conflicted, deck 4, the 5 of diamonds. And this one says, how would you handle prisoners who made an attempt on your group? Would you keep them incarcerated? If so, for how long? Would it depend on the type of offense? And give examples. So this is presuming, end of the world, zombie apocalypse, lights go out, cannibals running the streets. And believe me, after 9 days, your savage neighbors will become cannibals. They say 9 meals, but give them an extra week. 3 days and a week, right? That's 10 days, but whatever. Your neighbors will become cannibals. So in the second book here, The Legend of Ashley Fox, I have set up in the future, there is the gates of citizenship, and you have to answer questions about whether or not you believe in the death penalty, the right to earn and keep capital, the right to own property, etc., etc. Now, the death penalty is the one thing you can be split on. But after you enter, once you become a citizen at 18, you have to volunteer 2 years of work to the state or a whole lot of money, an acre of municipal land, the value of an acre of city land, and the choice of whether or not you believe in the death penalty hinges on the second choice you have to make, whether you serve in the armed forces or you serve in social services. Social services is everything from working in the hospital to working in the parks. But defense forces is the military. And if you say you don't believe in the death penalty and then try and become a cop or a soldier, you don't really do very well. And if you say you do believe in the death penalty and then go to work in the hospital, that doesn't go over very well either. This is one of the things that I believe our society is rightfully split on. And you don't have to hate someone because they don't believe in the death penalty. And just because someone does believe in the death penalty, it certainly would not make them a good person. But there are cases where it's called for. And I would think that in the end of the world, if someone tries to kill you, self-defense is appropriate. That's just my humble opinion. So if there's a group of people who make an attack on your group and you capture them, you can't afford to feed them. You can't afford to let them go. If you guys know anything about Vlad Tepes, this is interesting. I'm going to take a little while and tell you guys a story today. Vlad, in 1456, after he'd taken the throne back a couple times, he'd been pushed off his father's throne once or twice, but was able to take it back. The Ottoman Empire, Sultan Mehmed II, had been for years employing German blacksmiths who had been originally clockmakers and bell makers. Now, the word for bell in Germany is clock. A bell is just a larger cannon. And the Sultan had been hiring them. Europe was really poor at this time, had been ravaged by the plagues, and didn't have a lot of money, and was ripe for the taking. If the Turks could have come up the Rhine through the Romanian Valley, up the Danube, not the Rhine, if they could have taken Europe by ship, and they had enough cannon to do it. And the Germans, the Europeans had been making the cannon for them to attack further east, and they had conquered most of what they could conquer at that point. Vlad had been a hostage in the Sultan's court. His brother was still there, his younger brother Radu. His older brother Mircea hadn't been a hostage, but Vlad's father had 3 sons, and 2 of his sons were taken by Mehmed I as hostages when they were young. So Vlad had spent a lot of his time in the Sultan's court, and now the Sultan was meant to attack Europe through Vlad's lands. And Vlad was still Christian and he was going to stop him. He'd been entrusted with the Order of the Dragon. His father had been entrusted with the Order of the Dragon. And in my stories, that includes a contingent of soldiers, but really it was money, a sword, a seal, and I believe a cape or a flag, a cloak, something like that. But Vlad stood up to the Sultan, and he had 10,000 Ottoman captives. And they were marching back from the coast to Tirgoviste. Tirgoviste was the capital, about halfway down the valley, probably 50 miles from the coast. Maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. I honestly don't know. And along that march, they were salting the wells and burning the fields so that the Ottoman soldiers wouldn't have any grain. They were driving the cattle before them. They wouldn't have any water. They were, doing scorched earth on their own land to prevent their enemies from food, from sustenance, food and water, etc. And as he got closer to Tirgoviste, Vlad had no more defenses left. He had nothing to stop the Ottoman troops. And he also had these 10,000 Turkish prisoners that he had to decide something to do. He had to decide to, what to do with them. And he impaled them along the route, right outside of the Capitol. This was the last ditch effort. And now they are marching along a river. I don't remember if it was spring or fall, but as the Ottomans came up behind them, it was night and it was foggy, and they couldn't see anything. It was pitch black. And for 3 miles, there had been 10,000 impaled soldiers off to both sides of the road. Whether it's the north side or south side of the river doesn't matter. I'm going to presume it was the north side because Tirgovista is on the north side of the river. Budapest is now somewhere in that same area. And the Sultan's troops heard, it takes about 3 days to die when you've been impaled on a spike like that. And they heard the cries of their dying countrymen all the way up this road toward the capital. And when the sun, finally rose and they saw that they were surrounded in a forest of their impaled countrymen, it broke their nerve. And they gave up and they turned around and went home. And if Vlad had not done that, Europe would have been taken over the way Spain was taken over. Spain was Muslim for 700 years. Right now, we're stuck in these Weimar conditions, and people think we can't get out of it. We will get out of it. Spain was Muslim for 700 years, and they drove them out. So Hitler turned things around in 3 years. So we're going to see the pendulum is swinging back really hard right now, and some people are going to get crushed by it. I don't know if you guys saw the fencing thing where a girl was expelled because she refused to fight a man. Things are going to get crazy really soon. They're saying in Ireland that we may see a Rwanda-style genocide. Ireland was never a colonial power. Ireland never took anyone over. And yet the Jews are flooding Ireland with third world savages because the Jews believe that any homogenous white population is a threat to them. They did it to Sweden. They're focused on Norway and Finland. This is going to go really bad. We're looking at a Tower of Babel collapse. It may be next week, it may be next year, it may be in 20 years, it might never happen. I don't think this is going to go easy. Regardless, when it comes to prisoners, Vlad knew what he was doing. Vlad stopped the invasion of Europe from the Ottoman Turks in 1456 in a way no one else ever had. Now, we'd also had just the invention of the Gutenberg printing press, and the only 2 things that were being printed with regularity was the Bible, which was massive, and a 6 to 8 page pamphlet about the crimes of Vlad the Impaler, spread all throughout Europe. In part, I believe this was probably Jews who were pissed because they would have capitalized on the Sultans coming in and taking over, on the Ottoman Turks coming in and taking over. They would have still been the moneylenders. So I'm going to blame them for everything simply because I hate them. There was a guy last night who posted a video about Danzig. Danzig had some merch at his latest show featuring a black sun, which was one of the Thule Geissencraft symbols. The Thule Geissenschaft was the occult version, the occult group behind the Deutschland Arbeiter Party, the German Workers' Party that Hitler and everyone was part of. What we call the Nazis today, the National Socialists. So the black sun was a big symbol for them. And one of the things the Jews do, you guys should read Dr. Kevin MacDonald's book, The Culture of Critique. They are the critics of society. And they promote their own and criticize everyone else. It's part of what they do with the media. And this is all going to fall very hard on them because if people like me know about this, I'm nothing special, and other people are waking up too. I kind of wake up to these things a little bit earlier because I chase the cutting edge of media, stories and fiction and whatnot. For my own stories is the reason that I do it. I don't want to be copying someone, but I also am looking for influences. They say you shouldn't, like Ralphie May doesn't listen to other comics. Some other comics listen to every other comic. I don't fall somewhere in the middle. I definitely lean on the side of read everything. That's one of the best pieces of advice I ever got for writing is to read everything. So yeah, I try to stay informed, and May take a very black turn here very soon. It would be too bad, but it's going to be karma for everyone. I don't have to do any more heavy lifting. My heavy lifting was in 2015, 2017. Back then when I joined the groups that I joined, which have really kind of splintered since then. But it doesn't matter because their conversation has now entered the mainstream. Their work is done. What happens next is going to be the consequences. And it's going to be interesting. We may get third world conditions in first world countries. I don't know if you guys saw the thing about a white kid who was stabbed because he asked a black kid, his family had paid for a tent at a sporting event. And some black kid had sat down there and he explained to him, hey, this is our families, you can't be here. And the kid started a fight with him and stabbed him in the heart. There's going to be consequences for this stuff. I also saw a clip where a black guy coming up a stairwell in Ireland and a redheaded woman coming down a stairwell in Ireland at the landing. He savagely punched her, and punched her and kicked her for no reason at all. Unless they'd had some previous encounter where she had told him she didn't want to sleep with him or she broke up with him or whatever, and he was there looking for her because he did not continue up into the building. He turned around and went back down. And then 2 more blacks walked up the stairwell. While she was lying there, they ignored her and made her move to go through the door. We are going to have a race war. It's going to happen soon. You guys should be ready. You should be armed. Say your prayers that it doesn't happen. Say your prayers that we don't have to murder a bunch of savage blacks. I want to call them niggers because that's what they are. Say your prayers. But you know what? Do whatever you have to do to protect your friends and family. Don't let someone make an attack on you and then let them live, because they will come back with 7 friends. You've heard that about demons, haven't you? You kick one out, he returns with 7 friends. You have to take them off the board. That's my humble opinion, and everybody's got one. So talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.